we're going to go over the purpose of a resume. Why do you need this piece of paper? What's the expectation? What's going to happen with it? All right. Certain different resume types I want you to understand, but you should walk away with just the basics, right? Everybody should have some type of working document. It's going to follow you for your whole career. Even if it's weak or basic or not as strong right now, at least you should have something. The do's and don'ts of a resume. I want to make sure everyone ends tonight with that in mind. And we'll talk about chat GBT. That's such a popular hot topic, and kind of what I recommend when it comes to chat GBT. All right. So all a resume is, it's a piece of paper with your formal job history on it, right? It should speak highly for you. This piece of paper is going to speak for you when you can't be in the room to speak for yourself. If you finally run into somebody, it's kind of like if you run into Beyonce's assistant, right? And you want a job working on Beyonce's team, you're going to need a resume to give to her assistant so he can or she can get it to Beyonce for you. So you always want to stay ready so you don't have to get ready, because they're going to speak highly of you, but they need a document that shows your career history, your job qualifications, your skill set, and what you're really talented in, right? So can't stress that enough. It's going to speak for you when you're not around. You're also going to use this to apply for jobs. Um, all it's supposed to do is be this nice, sexy piece of paper that says, you know what? I want to pick up the phone and call them and learn more. I really like how their resume is laid out. Everything flows well. It makes sense. That's the purpose of a resume. You should have one. You can't get around for it. It's not like, oh, I got a LinkedIn. Do I really need a resume? No, you do need a resume regardless. So there's three types of resume styles. There's reverse chronological resume, which is a nice classic and common one, and it's easy for you to follow even if you don't know anything about resumes. It's, hey, here's my first job. First job at a college. It was an internship, and then I ended up working for them for 7 months. And then I got another job, and it just follows you from, say, your first job was in 2016. It follows you all the way up until 2023. Functional. This could be useful at certain times, especially if you have gaps in unemployment going on, and it's a nice way to kind of hide that, hey, you haven't been working for 3 years. So it focuses more on the skills in which you bring to the table as opposed to your job length and consistency. And then there's a combination resume, which is just more of a hybrid, which combines it all. This is something you definitely probably want to work with a career coach on, because you just want to be skilled on how you kind of layer all that in. So let's start with the don'ts, right? Here are some things that you should not include on a resume, right? That you should not do. It's very common to feel the need to include an objective. Hi, my objective is to find a job in marketing. We already know that. Don't waste resume space. We're talking about the objective is what you're looking for. It's implied. We know that you're looking for a job. It should be replaced with a summary of qualifications. See, doesn't that even sound nicer and better? So that's what you want to lead at the top, right? And I have an example I'll show you later too on that. Back in the day, you had to have references included. It was just a nice thing to be like, I'm going to go ahead and include my 3 references right there on my resume. This is a dead giveaway that you don't know what you're doing and you're not a professional, and your resume will go in the trash. It's it's so outdated, it's ridiculous. So you don't want to do that, okay? Crazy colors. Oh, I want to do pink and green. I want to stand out. That's very distracting, and it's too bright. It's too risque. You can do a little bit of color, but it needs to be subtle and it needs to make sense. If you're a creative marketing manager, or you're a digital creative artist or something, then that would make sense to show your skill set on your resume. But if you're really just trying to apply for an accounting job, if you're applying for a marketing assistant role, you don't need that. Don't put any crazy colors. Um, I would say there's no 100% accurate, perfect way to do a resume, but there's a lot of ways to fail to have a solid, respectable resume. So that's why I want to spend a whole slide, and I actually have a lot of bullets on here really discussing that, because just if you can stay away from these and don't do these, you're going to be all right. High school information. Um, it's not important what you did in high school. Sometimes you do need to add that depending on if you don't have any type of work at all. There can be a time for that, but we don't need high school information. I don't need to know what high school you graduated from. It's not important. It's all about the college. We got the degree. So once you have that degree, it trumps your previous experience. So it's already implied that you graduated from high school once you have your degree. Uh, Sometimes it's real easy to lie and be dishonest and feel like this is what I need to do and put on my resume in order to get to the top. But don't be dishonest. It will come back. Nothing's worse than going all the way through the interview process. You got the job offer, but you lied and said you had a 4.0 when really you had a 2.8. And really, they don't care if you had a 2.8 or a 4.0. The biggest thing is if you lied about something that small and that petty, how can they now trust you and bring you on fully with the company, because they're worried about you may lie about something else small that can really affect or harm the company's image. So just keep it real, keep it honest. You can embellish, you can play things up a little bit, but you cannot be dishonest. Uh, a lot of times, I know I was guilty of this, is you have a resume and you're just firing off applying to every single job. I'm going to apply to 15 jobs today. I'm going to apply to 20 jobs today, to every type of position, because I need a job. I just need to find something. When really, if you're applying your resume to a position and it's not tailored to that role, you're wasting your time. Don't do that. Do not do that. You need to slow down and think about what career field you want to be in. So you need to have the right target so you're more likely to hit it, right? But if you're just trying to hit anything that sticks to the wall, that's a waste of your time, and you're not going to get anywhere. So take the time to figure out what sector you want to be in. If you want to be in accounting, if you want to be in marketing, that's perfectly fine. If you know you want to be an engineer and you're looking for a good entry level role, stick with that. Your resume needs to speak to an engineering role or an accounting role, and apply, look for those jobs. And if you're really looking for a cost accounting role, it's going to be the same type of positions you're looking for. So you would need to change your resume every single time. But you can't take the resume that speaks to your skill sets as a great person that could take advantage of this entry level accounting role, but you just decide that you're going to apply for a marketing or engineering role. Your skill set doesn't reflect what they're looking for in the job description. So make sure it's tailored. No shortcuts on that, unfortunately. And you're not having quantifiable achievements. Anybody can put words on a piece of paper, but you need to put some numbers to it. And I have an example again later on that. And you don't need to include your full mailing address. Not because they're going to hunt you down or anything like that, but I don't want anybody to be discriminated against. I'm here in Dallas, Texas, and there's a certain part of town that's known as the hood, right? But if I happen to live in what people think is the hood, but it's actually a nice, safe environment, they're going to prejudge me, right? We don't want to open up any type of form of discrimination that the recruiter could utilize against you, right? I want you to have your zip code. I want you to have the city and state. That keeps it just vague enough, and the zip code allows them to narrow their search so they can find you for roles close to the job, so you can have a short commute time. People listing job duties and not accomplishments. Please take this away, because here's what the so-called cheat code was. We're going to go to the job that I'm currently working at now, look at the position that's listed and what I do, and copy and paste the job duties and responsibilities. That's not what we wanted. That's so basic. You might as well not even apply for, not even have a resume. If you're just going to copy and paste the basic job duties and not include accomplishments. So this kind of wraps up all the things that you should not do. These are the main things. If everybody's following with me so far, I need you to put "oh yeah" in the chat, okay? All right. Basic tips. So an entry level resume, I don't see any "oh yeahs" in the chat. We need to get lively. We need to get some activity going. Is everybody tracking with me? Does this make sense? It's an interesting topic because it's about resumes, but I'm always bringing some type of crazy, lively energy to this, because this is the piece. Everybody wants to go get the bag, but you need a resume in order to get the bag. We want to stunt and say, oh, I got this particular role and look good and feel prideful to tell people what do we do. But it begins and ends with a healthy resume. And nobody wants to talk about that. It could be a little boring, but it's a necessary evil before we get to all the fun stuff like pictures on LinkedIn and profile photos. All right. Thank you. Appreciate y'all. I see Christian, Khalifa, Phyllis. Oh, yeah. All right. So, basic tips. If you're a recent grad, especially in the past 3, 4, 5 years, you should get everything on one page. We don't need to only highly skilled roles like a lawyer or a doctor is where you would need to go off one page, right? Sometimes it gets a little crafty if you have a lot of experience, but one page is good, right? It's easier for recruiters to keep up with it anyway when you send your email out if you meet somebody and give them a hard copy in person. Have a consistent font. Don't have 15 at the top for your summary and your contact information. Then you have a 10 at the bottom where your education is. And so here's some expected fonts that you can follow when you're creating your resume, right? Have good line spacing. Make sure it's fluid and it makes sense. Again, I have some examples later on, but people read from left to right. And I don't know if you notice when we're scrolling, when we like spend hours on Instagram and Facebook, we typically look at things that are easy to read. If it's a huge long paragraph and it's real bulky, if it's more than 2 or 3 sentences, we feel too lazy to read it, right? So recruiters will judge your resume in seconds. You get one impression and you have 7 seconds to make a good impression. This is a true stat. This is not anything I'm just saying. 7 seconds. You have a very short window to make an impression. So you want to make sure your resume is welcoming and it looks pretty, right? At least smooth. Save resume as a PDF because you could put all this hard work into your Windows document and then you save it and then you attach it and then somebody opens it up and says, wow, I actually like this resume. I'm going to go ahead and send this. I'm going to send Phyllis's resume over to the hiring manager. But that person who was viewing it accidentally backspaced and added an extra letter or a comma and saved that resume that they were looking at and then forwarded over to their HR manager thinking they're doing you a favor, but really they just made you look bad. You want to know why? Because now you sent them a clean copy, but the person who was doing you a favor sent a resume that has some typos in it. So to avoid that, you want to send a PDF copy. Rule number one, save your resume as a PDF copy so no one could really mess with what you have typed. And then you want to use the standard resume sections. Your basic education, your job history, your accomplishments. Don't add anything funky like, oh, top-notch dancer. We don't need any of that. Just follow the basics and you're going to be fine. Sometimes we want to make things a little jazzy, but there's a certain code that you just need to follow that all HR managers and recruiters look for, and that consistency is really all you need. And that's how you get through the applicant tracking system, which is known as the ATS, which is a software that companies utilize to target the right candidates because they get 253, 400 resumes. So how are you going to narrow that down? So they really use the software to pull relevant skills from people who utilize the standard resume sections and use the right keywords to pull those resumes from those 20 to 25 people. Then they narrow it down to the 3 to 6 people who they want to call in. All right. So here's a solid template of what I was talking about. And let me hit this because that's always annoying when that's in the way. So take a picture of this. So, and there's different variations of this. This doesn't have to be exactly it, but this is just a helpful guide and a reference tool I want you to use when creating your resume. Your name should be the biggest thing. You're the superstar, right? You got the starring role in this movie of you. So make sure that that's highlighted. You can put in the role you're applying for. You don't have to, but it's a way to take ownership in owning the role. When I save, and another small tip is when you save your resume, because it says, what do you want to save this document as? You always say Steward, Cory, rockstar account manager. whatever the name of that role is. So you kind of speak it into existence and you take ownership of that role. So when the recruiter sees that's how you have it saved, it creates to me a nice welcoming, like, okay, sense of ownership. Because everybody else is just going to say, Cory Steward resume 2023, right? Steward resume 2023 update recent. Keep it simple, stand out, and you always, we call it ABC in sales, because all you're doing is selling yourself for a job. So always be closing, and it's the little things that make a huge impact. Include your phone number, include your email. If you have an email that says at AOL.com, you need to get a Gmail one or a Yahoo one, because I'm thinking you're a person of a certain age and you're not with the times. Google has a stronghold of the market. So, excuse me. So that's the standard. Don't have, that Barbie girl was real popular. You might like Nicki Minaj, but Barbie hot 101 at gmail.com is also not the email that you want to use. If someone already took your email, your name, unfortunately, just put in 22 or 123. So that way, it can pass, right? Keep it simple, stupid, or switch if you first name, last name at gmail.com. There's different variations, but make sure it's easy. If you have a real tough name that's more than 8 or 10 characters, simplify it, keep it simple. Whatever your nickname is, that's fine. Or use your middle name, or just use your first initial and your last name if that's easier, right? If your name is DeMonte Jones and everybody spells your name wrong, more than likely they're going to spell your name wrong when they're trying to refer and reference you. So make it easy for them to help bring you through the process to be hired. Just do D. Jones, right? Oh, what does D stand for? Then you can speak to it. All right. Include your LinkedIn profile link. If you go to your LinkedIn, there's a hyperlink that you can copy and paste and you can share. That should be on your resume. And of course, your location. Dallas, Texas, in your zip code. Please include your zip code, as I mentioned earlier. So when recruiters have jobs that they're looking to hire someone for, they go into the office and they go into that software system and they search all the candidates that are within a particular radius of the company. Why? Why would I want to hire somebody who applied for the job and we know they're 2.5 hours away from the company? This is a hybrid role and you need to come in 2 days out of the week. So is this person likely to be on time every day they need to come in if they're 2.5 hours away? Are they always going to be calling in with some excuse? More than likely. So what they do to mitigate that risk is they put a search radius. Whoever lives within, 20 to 50 miles is who I want to pop up. And they use the zip code for that. All right. Moving on. Summary. Summary is always good because it just says, hey, I'm a rock star, super skilled in account management and sales. And you put in the job title that you actually applied for. That's really key. They don't care about the broad range of what you can do. They care about what you can do for the position that you're applying for. So that's why it's really good to niche down and figure out what you want to do. If you know you want to be in tech, stick with tech. Don't hop around going from tech to then marketing to then, I want to be a teacher. No, it needs to be consistent, starting with your summary. Group title, you can put your skills here, or you can put your skills at the end of the resume, is fine. Inexperience. This is where people make or break themselves. Remember earlier I talked about copying and pasting from the job description? Let's not do that. What's in it for me? I'm looking to hire somebody. I'm going to pay you $65,000, $80,000. I need to know on your resume, what can you do for me? If you keep it basic and vague, this is where you lose. You've made it this far, but when they get to the experience, that's the meat and potatoes. What has this person done? I don't care if it's volunteer work. I don't care if you led an organization. I need to see how you brought results. Me in college, when I didn't have that much experience, I was a part of a fraternity. We had parties. We know we made a lot of money from these parties. But you know what? Somebody had to count that money at the end of the night and turn it in, right? Somebody had to make sure that we weren't getting charged fees in the bank account and that we had money so we can create and do scholarships for the community, right? That's a lot of responsibility. So I would put that in my resume. So going on to the education. If you recently started, you can put your education at the top. If you went to Howard University, hey, lead with Howard. That's probably your best experience at this point. That's okay to start off right after your summary and put the education there. You put in your degree, your field of study. If you have a 3.0 or higher, list it. If you don't. There's no need to mention, hey, I got a 2.6. Just leave that up to interpretation. But if you know you have a 3.0 or 3.5 or higher, go ahead and mention that. Shows you're a smarty pants, I guess. Um, and that can either be from your major or your overall. So you can whichever one's higher. That's a cheat code. Because I know I did better in my major, but when they had me taking these other math classes and these biology classes, I may have not did so well, and that would drag down my major. But when it came to marketing and leadership, that was my jam, and I had a very high GPA for that. Courses and certifications are listed here. If you took a Google course just on tech, if you took a Spanish language course, put that here. Anything of value, this is your time to shine and put it in there. Even if you took the course in college, and your interest in your hobbies. What do? I know I'm a mentor for big brother, big sister. Hey, this is the time to put it on there. If you know you're part of the dog watching society, put it on there. This is your time to show a little bit of personality, and it always is a good talking point when you're in the interview. All right, moving on. So get your pictures, get your pictures. All right, metrics. What do I mean by metrics? So there's a study that was done. If I tell you that the earth is round versus the earth is 1,000 times of a football field, you can grasp that a lot easier because we all know the length of a football field is 100 yards. So when you're talking about your skill set and what you can bring to the table, numbers don't lie. So put a number, put some type of percentage so people can really understand that. Improved user experience measures by 45% in 2021. So what that tells me that this person can make something happen. So I'm more likely to want to give them a phone call because they gave me some solid metrics. What a lot of people do is they put fluff. Hey, rock star, great, helped the company improved company functions. I mean, that's great, but that's a weak sentence. So you can turn a weak sentence into a strong sentence if you just add some metrics like you see here. Handled an average of 80 customer calls per day, providing excellent service and resolving issues promptly to ensure customer satisfaction. That is a well written job description about what you can do. Just well said. Another example, supported the sales team with marketing materials, increasing online sales by 25%. I want to pick up the phone and call them to learn more. Well, so now we're interviewing. So tell me what other stuff did you do to improve the sales, right? It's just this is a teaser. You can't put your whole life's work on a resume. It's just to give them a teaser in relation to the job duties and responsibilities that they're looking for. So they're prompted to pick up the phone and call you to learn more. Tell me more about these marketing materials that you helped. Right? I love that. Last example about metrics, implemented an automated expense tracking system resulting in time savings of 15 hours per week and increasing overall efficiency. Be a difference maker. People want to hire rock stars. If your resume doesn't sound or look sexy and you can't really move the mountain, what am I going to pick up the phone and call you for? So this is where the meat is at. This is job duties and responsibilities is very important in your job history. All right. So a lot of people may not have that much work experience, but just to give you an idea what needs to be on there, internships count, right? If you were really hustling on it, you would have that internship that summer before your last year, right? Just so you can get something to put on your resume and help steer you in the right direction. Part-time, full-time jobs. I don't care if you worked at McDonald's or Wendy's. You better put it on there. Put that on your resume. Again, volunteered. If you picked up trash, you fed homeless, hey, that's a solid thing that you should put on there, right? What they don't want to see is that you didn't do anything because it makes you look like a bum. It makes you look lazy. I'm just shooting straight. I'm not here to play games, but I'm judging you. I literally have 250 resumes, and why would I call the person that doesn't have anything in their resume? You don't always have to have that golden job, but you need to know that it takes a certain person to say, you know what? I don't want to stay at home. I need to stay active. I need to challenge my mind. So whether I'm volunteering, whether I'm working for Uber Eats, this is what I need. This is how I spend my time. I've been looking for jobs, but I'm not waiting on jobs. So here's what I'm doing in the meantime to strengthen my skill set and what I bring to the table. Um, Organizations, affiliations. If you're a part of a fraternity or sorority, that's awesome. If you're a part of the knitting club, the Frisbee Association, I also play flag football. Put it on your resume. Um, a lot of this stuff is transferable skills that can help build your resume and still make you look good. Because everybody has to start somewhere. If you're on a 6-on-6 basketball pickup league, that's fine. Put that on there, and you do that. And what's funny is one of my first jobs was Cutco, selling these expensive knives, right? So I would put that on my resume in this section. And it was always a good door opener because a lot of people have had somebody approach them, or they've had a nephew or a family friend say, "Hey, can I do a presentation and talk to you about these knives?" So it always, broke the ice when we first sit down. And that was always a story they wanted to share with me. So, oh, I heard of Cutco. I want a couple of those knives because they're really these expensive knives, but it's the best investment you can make. So if you really like to cook, I highly recommend it. But all that came because I didn't have to do it. I only did it for about, a summer, but it was still important for me to put on my resume. And that opened up so many doors, and it really served me well beyond the years of when I last quit that job. If you want an award for, if you were an SGA president, student leader association, top notch this over at your university, you better list it. I don't care if it was an award you won at church, best praise dancer, put that on your resume, right? Relevant projects, Girl Scouts. If you got all your pins and Girl Scouts, go make it happen. If you can start a fire with 2 twigs, that is a relevant project that you have to complete so you can get those badges. That's okay to include on your resume. All right. So here's a cheat code. Take the job description, and make sure that you have the same keywords that's on the job description. That's how you're going to beat the applicant tracking system. Because wow, we're looking for a person who has these exact skill sets, and they have. So that's who we want to talk to learn more about. So you should make it tailor made. Don't go through with the same old resume trying to apply to all these jobs. You're wasting your time. We call that the 80-20 rule. If you focus 20% of your efforts, it will bring 80% of the results you're looking for. So that means you need to niche down. I always keep going back to accounting. If you know you want to be in accounting, it doesn't matter if it's cost accounting, tax accounting, you know you want to do something in the world of accounting. So make sure your resume can speak to the things that you did, right? And apply only to those jobs so you get a high likelihood of you'll get a callback because your resume has relevant keywords that speak to it. And then before you apply, you really want the job at Ernst & Young. You really want to walk at Cooper, Price Waterhouse, right? So why don't you tailor your resume for those top jobs that you want so it increases the likelihood that you will get a callback, right? There's no cookie cutter resume that you can just use. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. It's time to get our grown and sexy work on if we really want to elevate our career and have a solid resume that stands out, that gets callbacks. Already talked about the applicant tracking system, but again, this is when you apply for a job. They have thousands of people applying for jobs. It's how that department of 2 to 3 manage the applicants for that job and determine who they're going to reach out to. That's why you need to have just a keep it simple, stupid resume that has the relevant keywords, and that will increase your likelihood of getting called back. All right. Make sure your resume sounds good. Don't just say, "Oh, I was a cashier." Me, for one of my jobs, I worked at Albertsons. I wasn't just a cashier, but I was a retail sales associate. Doesn't that sound sexy? Doesn't that sound better than just a cashier? So that's what I mean by make it sound better, right? That's not keep it basic. If we can use a $10 word, let's use a $10 word and not a $5 word, okay? So I want to make sure I show you a little bit more on some other resume ideas for you when you're creating it. So this is the line you want to follow. Contact information. Like I said, your name should be large, large and in charge. You're the superstar of this show. You can do education. See how this is listed out. Their major. They have the GPA. And then you call it. You can call it leadership experience because maybe the role requires a lot of leadership, and so you can just call it that to make it buzz out a little bit more as opposed to just experience. So I want to share this stat because what I'm telling you is real. So there is a 71% higher chance of landing an interview if you have your LinkedIn profile link on your resume. Can anybody guess why? Let's check the chat. Why would it be a higher likelihood, me as an entry level grad, because you see the entry level gets a lot higher callbacks than anybody else. Why are you more likely to get a call from a recruiter? Can somebody put that in the chat? Give me or go off mute and give me what your guess is. So I want to dedicate some time to this one because this is very important. Because the resume is really not going to get you a job. It's you networking. It's just a formal thing that you have to have. But LinkedIn and networking is what's going to get you a job. Who's going to put it out there? Give me a guess. Why? The question I want you guys to answer in the chat, or you can go off mute. Why do you think you will? There's a super high chance of you getting an interview by having your LinkedIn profile link on your resume. We don't have any takers. We don't have any takers. Okay, let's go there. I just need to scroll up. I don't see. Up. Oh, did anybody come through? Yep, I am scroll down. I'm seeing. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. What we got? It shows your background and achievements. That's correct. I think there's a higher chance because someone is able to get more insight into who you are on things that may not be included in your resume. Perfect, Angel. That's exactly right. If you think about it, you've only been working for 2 years. You don't have a lot of history and you don't have a lot of professional work experience. So what are we going to do? We're going to judge you off of how you look. We're going to judge you off which how you have things labeled on your LinkedIn page. I want to see if I can find a connection. Wow, they're part of the Frisbee group club on LinkedIn. I love throwing Frisbees on the weekend. I'm going to pick up the phone and call this person because we have something in common, right? Because it's hard to just judge somebody on a resume, but if you bring some life and some insight, as Angel said, that says a lot about this person's character. And I think I want them on my team. Let me pick up the phone and call them to find out more. So make sure you have a LinkedIn, make sure it's on point, looks good, just like your resume is, and it's going to get you more interviews. Appreciate y'all for shooting it out there, Christian and Angel. All right. Show impact. What does Cory mean by show impact? So, like I said, the meat and potatoes is about job descriptions. So, when you're creating your job description, you need to make sure that you're addressing some of the true accomplishments. How the heck did this person solve a problem? I don't care that you were a cashier and greeted all customers. I want to know how you decreased the wait times from an average of 3 minutes in line to 62 seconds because you were the rock star. You were fast checking people out. That's a problem solved, right? This is talk to me about how you saved time, how you helped people, how you took initiative to train other people when it was slow. That's the type of person that I want to call and working for my company, right? How did you generate revenue? Everybody wants somebody to make money. You can say, hey, you eliminated shrinkage because you was able to take the old stock and bring it to the front so people would purchase that before it expired, right? Little things like that. Put that in your resume. It should be a strong description of your accomplishment and what you did. What type of work did you produce? The money saved. When you are questioning Is this good? When you're over there toying, some people use Chat GPT and it spits out something. The rule of thumb is go back to this. Take a picture. Is this saying how I saved some time? Is it showing what I did to make an impact? Because we all talk about when we play sports, you don't want the person who's weak. You want the person who can throw far, who can get touchdowns. You want the person who got a good jump shot, right? Because there's a higher likely of you winning on that team by having this person because they can make an impact. That needs to be you. That's what your resume needs to say. All right. I want to show you all some more screenshots of where you're going to make an impact at. So let's look under here, under experience. Line 2, create new process documentation to increase response time by 20%. See how that's short and sweet? It's clean. It's all on one line. It's okay if it takes up more than one line. As you get more experience, you're going to have more things to say, but this is an easy on the eyes, right? See how that flows down? And there's 5 bullet points at their first job, and the second job has 3 bullet points. That's okay because it's clean. Don't feel like it has to be 5 and 5, but make sure it's not less than 3, right? You need to come up with something. Me, I'm a fan of 4. There should be 4 impact statements on how you're a game changer and what you can do. Not all of them have to have a metric, but at least half of them should have a metric to show how you can make a difference, right? People's brains process and see numbers. They don't question it. They're like, wow, this person has a number, so it must be true. That's just how we think. And then you have your skills, a CRM. If you're familiar with working with different CRM tools, Salesforce is a popular one, or Microsoft Dynamics is another one. If you're really an expert at Microsoft Excel, put that in there. Say advanced or expert. That's your time where you want to place that. So this is something to take a picture of. Just another way to do it. But it's important that you just follow the same flow: contact information, summary of qualifications, education, experience, certifications, and skills. That's all you got to do. That's the template. That's the magic sauce. But the meat and potatoes is the experience in the meat. What we got? Hi, this is much needed info. Yes, I'm sure she will send it out. She can confirm them. Accomplishments over responsibilities. What have you done for me lately? So let me tell you what I mean, right? Customer service rep. We know what that is. That's a general role for just starting out, right? Nothing wrong with customer service rep, but watch how sexy these job descriptions is. Resolve customer concerns efficiently and expeditiously, answering approximately 300 calls per week. That talks about an action that you did and a result, all in one. That's what you want. Create new process documentation to increase response time by 20%. Man, this is a service rep that I want on my team. I think I can build that person. I think I want them on my team and they can grow and progress, because you're not always going to stay at the role that they bring you in and hire you at. All right. Continue to achieve 98% customer satisfaction rate. That's a nice accomplishment. You want to tease them so they pick up the phone and learn more. They got to call you. All right, what is it? 45? Okay, we got about 15 minutes. I'm going to speed this up. But please remember, accomplishments over responsibilities. Don't nobody want to know what the day-to-day task is. I want to know, what did you accomplish working at Walmart? What did you do? What legacy did you leave behind? How'd you keep employee morale up? Towards the bottom of your resume, here's another way you can list your skills, right? You can call them transferable skills because you may not have a lot of corporate experience. So here's how you can play the game. Because guess what? More than likely, you did this in college. If you know how to use Teams, you know how to use Zoom, put that on there. Again, here's how you can write out your volunteer and professional experience. 4 lines, easy to read. And it shows that, okay, this person has a heart. Ooh, okay. They've worked with kids, not just kids, infant room teacher. So these are the little bitty babies. So, all right. So before we wrap up, let's talk a little bit about Chat GPT. GPT. Um, so this is a great tool that I want you all to utilize, right? It's okay. It saves time and it helps you be creative and it generates some ideas, right? One of the cons is it lacks creativity. We are not fully AI yet. So don't jump the gun during this transition because guess what? Human resource managers probably aren't using AI. Recruiting sourcing managers aren't using it. So, and they do have detectors now, just like you can't write an essay with chat, they're going to be able to track it. So, if I was an HR manager, for one, I would want somebody to hire the candidate that took the time to put a little bit of love. Use it as a reference guide to give you ideas now, but you need to go in there and make it yours. You need to own it. Don't go through the process and have them ask you something and you don't even know how to respond because you was being lazy and let the robot respond for you. And now you barely understand what's on your resume. You can't speak to the results because you really didn't do the results. It was just some fancy thing that you felt looked good on paper. And now you're in an interview. We all know what happens when you call somebody out, right? It's like, man, I did this, I did whoop de woo. And then you pull up the receipts, like, nah, you didn't send the email. Or nope, look, I didn't get the text. So you don't want that to be happening to you on the phone call and it prevents you from getting the job that you want. So you got to go through it. It doesn't understand context really well. So don't get caught up. Please don't be lazy and just copy and paste. You got to work with. Go back to your school, have somebody look over it. Just make sure it makes sense. This is a tool, not the end all be all. All right, can't stress that enough. All right, so we all have been on dating sites. I know I have. Uh, and so don't be out here catfishing these companies, right? Making yourself look good from Chat GBT and you over here on the phone and you can't even speak to your accomplishments. Don't get caught up. Don't get caught up, please. Okay. So no catfishing because you have very skilled managers that know how to speak to pulling out someone's relevant activities and accomplishments to see if you're worth hiring or not. So you got to own this process from beginning to end. Chat is just an AI tool. All right. And here are a couple prompts that you can use. Right. You can write a short professional resume summary about my role as an electrical engineer. Make sure you include your name. Right. The more information you give the chat, it's going to give you better information back. And you pick and choose some of the good, some of the bad, right? And kind of make it yours. But these are good reference points. It is okay. I'm not saying don't use it, but I don't want you all to get off this presentation thinking you can heavily lean on. Mm-mm. But it is a helpful tool that you can just use. Okay. So as we wrap up, there's some takeaways. And I had to narrow it down to about these five. All right. Accomplishments over responsibilities. The part where people are going to give you a call back is what you have listed under your job duties in your experience. So that's probably the most important part of the resume because that's where the keywords are going to be in. What you've done, what you can make happen. Meat and potatoes. Customize your resume to the job that you want. I know it's not fun. That's why it's important to have a solid resume. Once you figure out what you want to do and understand your future, it becomes an easy thing. But if you're all over the place and don't know what you want to do, you're over here crying that you have to customize every resume. But if you know you want to be an electrical engineer, your resume is not going to change much because you know what field you want to be in. You got your degree in, you still have a hunger or a passion. Even if it's not your heart's desire to be an electrical engineer, maybe you want to be in construction or you want to be in retail and you want to work at the mall so you can get the discount at Foot Locker and be a general manager. That's okay too, but your resume needs to speak to that. Uh, Don't depend on Chat GPT. Can't stress that enough. 100%. And don't be extra. Well, I saw this template online, so I'm going to use this because it looks pretty. It's not about what looks pretty. Go with the majority. You don't need to have this flawless photo picture on there. You want to know why? Because you're just giving them another opportunity to be biased. That's why we like the professional picture on LinkedIn. So that way they're already drawn in and you already good, right? So don't just do the most trying to do some creative resume. I'm gonna slice it in half and it's gonna be one color on this one and another color. Keep it simple, stupid. Just follow the template that I gave you. And another hot tip is you're going to need to include a cover letter. This is a great thing that chat is helpful for because you could just do a nice general cover letter and just copy and paste it and just change the job title every time you apply. You attach that to your resume when you apply, you increase the likelihood of getting a call back. All right. And so that's about it. Just make sure you know that the resume is just a formal thing that you need to have. It's helpful to getting you a job. But what's going to get you a job is you networking with people on LinkedIn, sending messages. What's going to get you a job is being a part of groups. What's going to get you a job is not being afraid to talk to people when you're in the grocery store, when you're pumping gas. You need to be communicating. Communication rules the nation. And tell everybody, oh, I'm a recent college grad, just looking for a good opportunity. Do you know if there's any openings at your job, at your company? Is there any way you can give me the contact information for the recruiter? Everybody's already working that you meet. Everybody in your neighborhood, the neighbor downstairs that you're afraid to talk to when you're checking the mail, everybody is a potential resource for you in getting the job and getting you hired. Open up your mouth. Don't be afraid to ask. This is very important. You are competing with at least 250 people every time you apply for a job. Speed up the timeline. You can have the best job and come from the best school in America, and it can still take a year, year and a half to find a job. If you want to speed that up and find a job in 6 months, 4 months, 3 months, do what I'm telling you. You got to get out there and you got to hustle. You got to send messages. You got to send texts. You got to be on it. You got to be active on LinkedIn, making posts. Uh, I help. You can even do video resumes. There's all kind of ways to kind of sell and pitch yourself. But if you want to know more on that, you can just call or reach out to me. Here's my contact information. Follow me. Follow me. You can DM me with questions. You can shoot me an email. My website is careercoachcory.com. Shout out to everybody who took time to be a part of this call. And if you enjoyed it, let me know.